However, our motivation is the future of our species, the future of our children, the future of humanity, a just and free world for all of us. Which motivation do you think is stronger? Of course, our motivation is far, far stronger. So rest assured, my friends, we are fighting a just battle. We are standing grounded in the strongest possible cause. Our motivation is the strongest motivation we could have, and that is why we will win. And there is a thinker and author in the UK, and he put out, his name is Vernon Coleman, Vernon, V-E-R-N-O-N, Coleman, COLEMAN.com. He put out a video called Why We're Fighting for Our Future and Why We Will Win. And his message is essentially the same. Rest assured, our why is far stronger than their why. Therefore, my friends, we will win this war. We will win this battle for the future of humanity. We have God on our side. We have light on our side. We have love on our side. We will win. Love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking a stand. And rest assured, we will win. God bless you all.
Hi everybody, how you doing? It's a beautiful day today, not so much sun, but it's still gorgeous, and I'm glad to see so many faces out here today. My name is Kellyanne Wolf. We got a few more speakers for you, and right now I'd like to invite Tino up to the microphone.
Woo-hoo!
Can someone take a video of the email?
Yes.
I don't know.
What a good turnout, I'm so happy.
Doing the video?
Yes.
Great.
Tino, everybody, thank you.
Thank you. Woo!
Hello everyone, thanks for coming out again. I was here last week, I did a speech. Unfortunately, I didn't use my notes and I forgot about half of what I said, so I'm going to rely on the paper a little more. Last week I spoke about the CDC releasing a report stating that the testing methods are 50% inaccurate and how easily obtainable this information is to the public. So you have to wonder what these experts are doing in there. If they're so-called experts, they should have information that we have about this false data. It's heavily inflated. So let's just go over some of the points that prove the information is false, starting with the 50% inaccurate tests. We also know that the flu shots, like I mentioned, if you've had a flu shot, the antibodies will test as a positive when you have the test. So all these infected people raising the COVID bar that we're being locked down under, it could be flu. But we don't even know for sure, because if they checked, it would be 50% wrong anyway. So we also know they've been sending out contaminated test kits in the tens of thousands all over the world. So you're getting tested with a contaminated needle or swab or whatever they're using. It's just, it's incredible. They're also double counting the infected patients in the hospitals. But they're not correcting the numbers. They know the information is wrong, but we still show the data as double counted. The doctors are also allowed to assume that you have COVID based on symptoms without testing. So if you come in with a sniffle or a headache or any sort of flu symptom, this also shows as a COVID symptom and they chalk it up as COVID. We also know that environmental toxins and radiation, as well as the flu shots, cause shortness of breath. Okay, if you look it up on the CDC website, the flu shot side effect is shortness of breath. So keep that in mind when you're seeing these stats. Death certificates are also being forged. If you test positive, false positive, they chalk up your death as a COVID death, even though you've had other pre-existing conditions, cancers, diabetes, stroke. That's totally unacceptable. So when you come down to it, these numbers are pretty much down to zero, if you think about it. I'd like to see a breakdown of all these numbers. I'd like to see the experts come out with a plan to correct this information and get us out of this lockdown. Can you just imagine if you went to your school teacher and submitted an essay or a test with that much falsity? What would your score be on that test? I mean, this is incredible that we're still locked down, and it's got to stop. Next thing I did, last night I was having a debate online, which I hardly ever do, but I did it because I'm a fish. I got fished in. And I was debating whether masks, certain types of masks, would prevent virus to pass through. And I brought some samples for us, and I'm going to do a poll with a show of hands or clapping. You tell me which mask is going to save you from this virus. We have a $55 Home Depot mask, dual cartridge. This is a P100 rating. It means 100% of the particles that it's rated for will be stopped. This is the cloth mask that they're mandating. Okay? Which one is going to stop the virus, the COVID, the disease?
No one.
Is it this one?
No one.
Is it this one?
No.
See, you're all pretty smart. Neither of these masks are going to stop the virus because this P100 filter is 3 times larger than the actual virus. It may stop the droplets, but not the actual virus. As I say droplets, I'm getting rained on. Check it out. Okay, and another problem with this mask is it has a one-way check valve, so I can breathe out without any filtration. So this is junk. And this is even worse, because at least I can breathe out with this one. This one is just recycling the garbage back into my body. So let's do some research. These experts that are forcing us or want to mandate these masks, they're totally criminal. Let's call a spade a spade. You're not experts. We have more information than you do. Get me on your show, AM 1010, CBC, where are you? Put me on your show. I got the data right from the government sites. CBC's down there. Bring your camera up here. Let's get me on TV. Yeah, I've got government data that shows that you're wrong. Peace out. Thank you for coming out. Sorry, I'm not sure who's up. Jimmy? All right.
How are
Are you
you?
gonna give me the videos or
Say again?
did you tape?
Yeah, I'm taping
Hi,
now.
my name's Kieran,
Is it gonna be on your YouTube?
and
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about our kids because amid all this talk of protecting our most vulnerable, the people who are really most vulnerable, our children, are mostly left out of the question. A fabricated crisis like this, arising at a developmental period in their lives, is going to leave a permanent imprint on our children, and we can't let that happen. So the elites like to get to kids young, before they've been able to develop their critical thinking faculties, while they still rely on the adults around them to shape how they see the world. From the Hitler Youth to Stasi kids in East Germany, this has been a consistent pattern. And kids growing up nowadays aren't going to know the old normal. They're only going to know the new normal, where they only feel safe if they have masks on and they don't want to touch the other children around them because they could be plague carriers.
We cannot let that happen, guys. We cannot.
So you may have seen pictures from the trauma factories, schools in China, where kids line up between red lines, staying 6 feet apart. They're all wearing masks. They get their temperature checked. Then, they get swabbed before going into school. And that's just a daily occurrence. That's just normal now.
Yes, they should check oxygen level.
So, especially kids, maybe 2 to 12, that's a crucial developmental window. So it's going to create a generation of germaphobes. If childhood experience has any impact on future adult neuroses, then this is going to be the most vigilant, Lysol wiping, disinfectant spraying generation that we have ever seen.
Ooh, we don't want that.
Rather than learning that proper nutrition and physical exercise is the key to health, they're going to think that the only way they can be safe is if they take all of the toxins applied by the pharmaceutical industry that they've seen on TV and advertisements.
Yes.
We
That-
do not want that.
That pharmaceuticals are the only defense against invisible, ubiquitous threats. Small children not being able to play face-to-face with their same age peers is also going to have an incredibly detrimental effect on kids, because during the ages of 2 to 4, that's when you learn how to play with others. You might have seen toddlers. They don't know how to play with others. They just say, oh, that's mine. Oh, that's mine. So from 2 to 4, they need to learn how to share and how to play in a fair way. And if they're locked inside and they can't see their friends, they're never going to learn that. And they'll be permanently socially disabled. They'll be left behind by the other children. And that happens. There is clear evidence in the literature that this is a real effect that happens. So anything more than a month is going to be permanently detrimental to our kids. And then, after practicing social distancing for months on end, children are going to find it difficult to go back to playing like normal, touching their friends, hugging their friends, playing tag. Especially kids with social anxiety, which many of our kids now have. Anything that caters to their challenges socially is going to be that much harder to overcome afterwards. And all of those factors suggest a massive upsurge in mental illness in this next generation. Mental illness is already a hallmark of the millennial generation, and Gen Z isn't doing much better. As of 2017, 12.7% of Americans over the age of 12 were currently on antidepressant medication. Additionally, 300,000 toddlers in the US were on antidepressant medication. I don't know how on earth you would diagnose a toddler with mental illness and then decide that it's a good idea to give them antidepressant drugs. Per the diathesis stress model of depression, that is, you can overcome some trauma, but if you have repeated trauma, that eventually exceeds your ability to overcome it, and you develop a mood disorder. So a society-wide psychosis over the flu is almost guaranteed to push kids that would have otherwise been on the brink over the edge into a debilitating illness that will keep them dependent on the pharmaceutical industry and easily compliant with government regulations. I see that kid has no fear. He's just being a kid. And that makes me happy to see. It makes me happy to see all these kids out here every week, just playing, just being normal. That's what I like. When I was in the park a few days ago, I was taking down the caution tape, and the mothers around me thanked me for doing that. And all the kids were running around the park and playing on the swings that I'd unhooked and cut the zip ties off of so that the kids could use the playground and be kids. Social distancing is child abuse. Even sick kids came out saying that in September the school should open and there should be no social distancing and no masks. So finally, some sense from a public institution. It's rare. On top of that, since the 50s, children's neighborhood playgroups have suffered terribly. From child abduction scares to serial killer scares to satanic child sacrifice scares. After a pandemic scare, helicopter parents are going to find it difficult to let their kids go outside without a hazmat suit on. How's that going to affect our children? Of necessity, during this time, kids are going to be interacting with their friends through screens. So they're not going to develop the skills to socialize in person. It increases the dependence of children on social media to the detriment of their real-world skills that everybody needs to develop. It's become a normal fact of life that kids as young as 2 or 3 are sat down on an iPad while the parents watch Netflix, and this is only going to reinforce that trend. Once children have become adept at using technology to socialize, it's going to be more difficult to coax them into pursuing more difficult socializing in person when they've already become used to speaking on their phones. I have step-siblings, and they tell me the same thing, that their friends have terrible social skills, and they find it very difficult to meet new people without anxiety and a great deal of awkwardness. And maybe the awkwardness is normal, but the anxiety isn't. And that's what we're doing to our kids, and we can't let that happen. So So major props to all the parents who are here right now with their kids, letting their kids have a normal childhood and not keeping them inside stuck to a screen. So thank you.
That's Karen, everybody. So I would like, Gracie, can I please have that? Yeah, I'd like that thing. So my daughter wanted to come up and speak, but she's very nervous.
Come on. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
It's okay. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. I'm just going to take this. So I'd like to talk to you guys about a few other things. Since this began, we know that there's been some ridiculous measures put on all of us. But what's more ridiculous is the fact that our parliament, the building that holds all the people that we have elected in this province, who are supposed to be representing our voices, are supposed to be sitting in there 5 days a week. They're supposed to be sitting inside this house 5 days a week, representing our voices, talking about our concerns, changing the things that we want changed, making our province better for all of us. But no, they're not doing that. Once every couple of weeks, they sit down for 2 days. 2 days. Do you think that's enough time to represent all the people of Ontario?
No.
No, it's not. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Everybody that works in that building at our expense. They work for us. We don't work for them. We're the boss. It's our rules. It's our interests. It's our wants, it's our needs, and our necessities that they're supposed to be in there discussing. They're not supposed to be in there discussing how long they're going to restrict us. How much more they're going to oppress our children. The last time mass groups of people were forced to wear masks was during slavery. Keep that in mind. Slavery. Don't speak unless I approve what you say. Don't breathe in someone else's space. But don't worry, I'll keep you safe. I'm sorry, last time I checked, we have amazing police to keep us safe. Isn't that their job? They put themselves on the line to keep us safe. I don't need the Premier of Ontario to keep me safe. No offense, he's not very good at keeping himself safe.
Laxatives.
Democracy is the most fundamental, important portion of our entire society. And the problem is that most people don't understand what democracy actually is because it's so often used as a marketing gimmick during an election year. Democracy is the only philosophy that can accommodate the best of all other philosophies. And for that very same reason, no other philosophy can accommodate democracy. Not without oppression, not without slavery. Words are the most important portion of society as well, because it's the words that we use that define the laws, that keep the peace amongst such a vast array of very different people with different wants, needs, beliefs, faiths, and what have you. And it's the words that have been twisted. There's an actual term, it's called psycholinguistics. It's when you manipulate the definition of a word in order to get an emotional reaction, an intended emotional result. And what I see happening here is called psycholinguistic manipulation. Justin Trudeau, for instance. Has anybody heard the term foreign fighters? Yeah. Foreign fighters, you know what he's talking about? It makes you think he's talking about a faction of the Canadian military, right? Yeah. No. When he addresses foreign fighters, he's referring to ISIS.
Canadians.
Let that sit in for a minute and marinate on it. He's referring to ISIS. That's absolutely ridiculous. So you have 75% of the Canadian population who hears him say foreign fighters, and they're like, rah, Canadian military, they love us. No, he's referring to ISIS. It is so very important for people to understand the definition, the simple and original definition of words, because they mean everything. So that when you look at policies, which do become law, which we all become bound to, you can understand exactly what the language within those documents is saying. Because this is the root problem of all of our issues. This is how the government has been able to impose upon our freedoms and our individuality and restrict us. It's because when you don't completely comprehend what the agenda is, and it sounds nice, of course you're going to vote in favor of it. Of course you are. There's not a single person in this country that won't vote for something that makes sense or sounds like it makes sense. But read the fine print, folks, because the fine print is where it's at. And the definition of those words in the fine print is the most important aspect of those policies. I'm so proud to see everybody week after week show up here. And I promise you, next week on Canada Day, I will represent every single one of your voices in Ottawa. I will take that podium and I will talk to the entire country and represent every single one of your concerns.
Tell them enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
I invite Doug Ford out here, knowing that he's in that building right now, knowing that he can probably hear me. I invite him out here. I mean, what do you got to be afraid of? None of us out here are going to bite you. Come on out here and have a conversation, Dougie. Rob would have. He wouldn't have hesitated because he was a man of the people.
His brother was.
Yeah, Rob was. Rob was absolutely a person of the people. And say what you want about him.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want. That man was a man of the people.
Yeah.
This man is a liar.
Rob.
Yes.
Rob.
I am so absolutely impressed with Randy Hillier.
Yeah.
The one man out of this entire house with the nerve to be for the people.
Yeah.
With the nerve to stand up for our democratic rights. The one sole, and I am so upset about that because there are 4 people in there that would not be sitting in their seats had it not been for me personally, as I worked my butt off to campaign for them. So shame on them, and I hope they can hear me too.
Shame.
I'm not going to call them out by name because I know that they're sitting on the fence. Let this be words of encouragement for you to get your butts up and out here where you damn well belong.
Chicken Little.
But Randy Hillier, he stole my heart. Because for a man to stand up against an entire army of people that are trying to restrict our entire well-being is absolutely heroic. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
With that, I'm going to have Vlad come back up and say a few more words. And I know shortly the man himself will be out here to have a few words with us as well. Vlad.
Give it up for Kelly.
Enough
Right.
is enough.
If you guys haven't signed this, we're gonna be submitting this today. Make sure you put, even if you did the online version, only the paper one will actually go to the legislature. So if you haven't signed this up, please do fill out the whole information. So thank you again for everybody coming. It's a nice rainy day, which is great. You know, just a little, so it's not too humid and hot for us. Few things that I want to touch on. We will be moving into the stage 2 of opening. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do a weak applause for the stage 2, everybody, right? What a joke. Come on. So, again, we've been told back in March that we need to stay home.
2 weeks.
We need to social distance, whatnot. We need to protect the risk population and everyone else. And we got to do it for the 2 weeks to make sure that we protect the hospital capacity, because we're going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of people just flooding the hospitals. And obviously, living in Canada, we are all nice, polite, considerate people. Yes or yes?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. That's why everyone loves Canada, right? If you ask anybody else in the world, how are the Canadians, you always hear the compliment, nice, polite. You know, the sorry song is the joke, right? We use sorry about anything. Even if somebody bumped into us, we say sorry, right? Like, this is who we are.
Bump into
So,
a tree.
Sorry and thank you.
yeah, you bump into the tree, you apologize to the tree, right? Like, you want to talk about how nice and considerate Canadians are? Well, guess what? We are nice and considerate, and that's why we're here today, and we've been here for over 2 months, because we consider of people that have been completely forgotten by this government.
And push to the limits.
Like, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
As soon as the emergency order came in and they had to protect the capacity of the hospital, right away, over 52,000 necessary hospital procedures were canceled. I repeat, over 52,000 necessary hospital procedures were canceled. I'm not talking about some, plastic surgery stuff, whatever, even though some people have some important issues with that. I'm talking about cancer screening surgeries. I'm talking about heart disease surgeries. I'm talking about any other surgeries that people, somebody canceled the hip replacement surgeries. Like, if you don't adjust that, then you're immobile for the next 3 months. What kind of health status are you going to have 3 months later when you were supposed to be mobile and recovering? Can you imagine that? All those are necessary, not elective, necessary hospital procedures. And every single week after that happened, over 12,000 extra necessary hospital procedures were canceled. What happened to those people? Who's thinking and considering those lives being completely ruined? No one. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Then we got to talk about small businesses. And yes, everybody in the beginning, when myself and a few others that have been doing this movement from the day one, we try to educate people on social media, and we try to make sure people understand. There's a lot of different aspects that people need to consider. This is not a single issue. You have to look a little bit further than your nose to understand that when you implement such strict regulations, people, businesses, and livelihood will be affected. And that's their whole life. Everything built on the small business environment for those lives. They invested, sometimes generations to build something up, and this is their own livelihood that they have. And it's a part of them. It's literally essential part of their well-being, and that's been completely discredited and forgotten. And then we're going to talk about, I'm losing my train of thought. So, and then what happened after that is the business class being suppressed because they are the free thinkers, right? They don't want to be talked about. They're not going to be pushing against. So yes. So what I was saying is, that people try to shame us with, well, your livelihood is more important than grandma, right? Don't kill my grandma. You're going outside and open up your business. Well, guess what? It has nothing to do with your grandma. It has to do with my livelihood, and everything is important. The thing that people need to understand, there's a regular death rate for population, and it's just about 1%. That's just a statistic that happens. Yeah. People die every single day from multitude of reasons, right? There's car accidents, there's other accidents that happen, there's other disease that happen, and anybody knows what's the age expectancy for Canadians?
Yeah, 86.
86 years old. Yeah. That's the age expectancy, how long a Canadian is expected to live, 84 to 86 years old. Guess what's the average age of people unfortunately dying from this virus? Over 80 years old. Yeah. So I'm sorry, which lives are we trying to save? And with all due respect, we gotta help everyone. Yeah. But when it comes at the expense of people that's supposed to be living healthy and vibrant lives, and now they committing suicides, the cancer surgeries being canceled, so they're going to be unfortunately dying from cancer. People's immune system is being suppressed because they're depressed and they unfortunately overuse drugs and alcohol, and it's happening all across the nation and all across the world because the government doesn't put the stress on the health and nutrition. All the money that this federal and provincial government spend in the last 3 months giving money to pharmaceutical companies to make a vaccine for the virus that death rate is comparable to regular flu is ridiculous. All this money should be spent to elevate everybody else's health. And this is the biggest point that I want to make. Instead of living in harmony and symbiosis with nature, and that's how we all should live, we're trying to create a fear and fighting against germs and viruses. We are made of bacteria. Our DNA is majority, not even ours, it's different bacteria part of us. And if you're fighting against yourself, guess who's gonna lose? You're gonna lose. Yeah. And this is what these so-called health experts don't know. We know clearly what we're doing. Again, I said this before. If I could have understood in the first couple of weeks, the government officials wanted to be cautious and protect and whatnot. They didn't know what really is going to happen. We know now, after over 3 months of data, it's real. We have our own sick kids hospital right here. One of the best hospitals in the whole country came out with a report on June 17th saying specifically, children outside do not transmit this virus. Children are not risk sector for this virus.
Of course not.
Globally, this virus affects 5 to 10% of children globally. In Canada, less than 7% of children are affected by this virus. When they tested over 5,000 children with symptoms, they only found 30 to be positive for this virus. Out of 5,000, only 30. When they tested 1,500 children with symptoms, they found 0 children affected with this virus. In the whole country, we had no one dying below 19 years old. And there's, I believe, for Toronto specifically, I think 7 children needed hospitalization and 0 needed to go into ICU. 0. And today, Tory said, even though we are finally going to move to stage 2 again. Weak applause for stage 2, everybody. Unbelievable. Wow, stage 2. The playgrounds are still closed. They're not going to open the playgrounds. This is total ridiculous nonsense that has to end immediately. Children have to be outside. Children have to be playing and enjoying their lives. If this was ever a time for children to boost their immune system and boost their health, this is the time now.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
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 And let's talk about a big elephant in the room. The big elephant in the room are masks. Masks have to be mandatory for all the municipalities. Our premier said he's not going to mandate the mask. Okay, fine. But we're going to mandate it from all the municipalities. So we got to talk about Hugs of a Mask initiative. We got to educate the people. It does work. The flyers do work. The shirts work. So we're going to push. I'm going to come back. I'm talking a little bit after. I'm going to bring Kelly back so she can introduce our featured amazing speaker. Thank you, everyone.
Vlad, everybody, thank you so much. So now in light of, us being blessed by all this beautiful rain, without further ado, Mr. Randy Hillier.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And I guess, I don't know if this is a blessing or a curse, getting cooled off and getting wet, but we get what we get, I guess.
Yes.
So, listen, again, thanks for being here today. This afternoon, I will be tabling the petition that many of you have signed. We have about 3,000 signatures in total.
Yay!
And I'll be tabling that as soon as I have an opportunity in the afternoon session. Then we will be debating the motion to continue and extend the state of emergency once again.
End the lockdown!
And I just have to say, as everyone knows, I am opposed to this continued state of emergency.
End the lockdown!
But I was getting dizzy listening to the debate this morning in the legislature. The NDP speakers were up speaking in favor of supporting the continued state of emergency.
Scumbags!
And then they listed a litany, a laundry list of abuse and problems and difficulties and harm and consequences that the people of Ontario are facing. And then they say, but we're going to continue this.
Scumbags!
Like, what the hell? How the hell can anybody list everything that's wrong with something and demonstrate clearly and factually what is wrong with this? And then say, we're going to continue doing it for a few more weeks.
Double speak! Double speak!
I was always told, and I understood early in life, when you're in a hole, you stop digging. You don't keep digging.
Yeah.
And these, but I will have to say, this is not, something about this virus in this time is also really puzzling.
Pandemic.
I see a lot of people dying of the plague.
And, but there's something else here. We have stopped and we have lost our ability to critically think and examine what's going on in front of us. And we've, this virus has attacked our thinking as much as it has attacked the physical health. And it's been a tragic for many people in long-term care, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the attack on our thinking is going to have much longer-term consequences if we don't. It's sort of like we're not allowed to think anymore, and all we can do is provide virtuous platitudes in its place of thinking. And you know, we can see this. You know, study after study has been showing that COVID-19 is transmitted by prolonged, sustained, close contact indoors.
Yes.
Okay? And we've seen the evidence. That describes long-term care to a T.
Yeah.
And study after study, the Queen's University study, the University of British Columbia study, have all showed that this needs to have inside, close, prolonged contact. And there's been no spike at Trinity Bellwoods.
No.
3 or 4 weeks ago. There was no spike with the BLM protests.
No.
There's been no spike anywhere where large groups of people have congregated.
No.
But still we're prevented from having our civil liberties, our freedom of expression, our freedom of assembly, but not freedom from the weather. We still have freedom of the weather. Listen, I don't want to keep everybody out in the rain, but I do want to tell you my conviction that I'll continue to fight, because I am not convinced that this is the last time the Premier is going to bring another extension of the Emergency Management Act forward. And we've got to be vigilant, and we've got to keep fighting and get more and more people to be aware that critical thinking is important. It's a must.
Yeah.
Democracy is important.
Yes.
It is a must.
Yes.
And our freedoms and our liberties are a must.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go in and see if I can convince these dizzying NDP speakers that they should oppose things that are harmful for us. Thank you very much.
Randy Hillier, everybody.
Whoa.
This is the only man in this house who is standing up for the democratic rights of all people. And he is only supposed to be representing his own constituency, but no, he's representing everybody in this province. That is a man of the people, for the people, and that is why we're here. We're here because there is hope. There is always hope. As long as you speak up. All of our voices matter. Everybody's voice is absolutely it's absolutely important. So where's that cute young boy? I'd like to get him up here. Hey, little guy.
Red shirt. Come and speak.
He keeps running up here, so I'd like to do a little interview with him. What do you think, folks?
Yeah.
Oh, he's hiding now. Oh, so cute.
Anthony, come on, the mic.
We've been coming out here for 9 weeks. 9 full weeks.
Yeah.
We hug each other. We dance together. We celebrate.
Oh,
we eat together.
Spider-Man.
The children play together.
Spider-Boy's got some say.
Right now I'm going to have Mike come up here.
Wow.
He's one of Randy's staff members, and he's got a few words to say. Mike, please.
Howdy, everyone.
Howdy, howdy.
So I'm very glad that Randy Hillier was able to come out here today, rain or shine, and it's amazing that everyone else is out here and staying out here, because we can't be afraid, whether the rain, whether it's the virus, whether whatever it is, because rain can't kill us, and this COVID-19 ain't killing us either.
No.
But I think one thing we're going to probably start doing is maybe cut this a little short, considering the fact that it is raining, just to let people. We've already had our message heard. We got some media coverage. We did our part.
Yeah.
So one thing I would like to ask everyone to do, I'm thinking if we could get a group photo with everybody, get everybody underneath this tent, and then we can take a nice big picture and then post that on our social media to show, even in the rain, we're not afraid to be here.
Yes.
Everybody come on in. Come on in, little guy.
Here, and I wasn't going to be alone. Not here, but I interpreted it. I figured it out. It's here. But the point I want to make is that we know the information. We know what's going on. We know what we got to tell people. We've got that covered. I want to offer something else too, which is the kind of virus of thoughts and love that I've been working on in the past few months. A lot of people are waking up. So when I say the I Ching told me this, I mean the whole world is constantly speaking to me, and it's constantly speaking to millions of people. I believe that. After the plague came the Renaissance. We're fighting something that seems pretty scary, pretty bad, because all the bad stuff is rising up to be burned away in the light. It's true. And you guys are a part of that, and everybody that you kind of infect with that feeling, and it doesn't mean you have to go, I'm right, you gotta do this, like, don't worry about your mind. We don't gotta fight it. We just gotta kind of slowly go out there, stay in touch with ourselves, stay in touch with love the people in our lives, and slowly lead by example. And pretty soon this place is gonna be packed, and pretty soon everyone in your neighborhood, everyone in the city is gonna get ready, not to go back to their old lives, but to go back to a better life moving forward, because we've had time to reflect. We know what we want, we know what we don't want, and it's gonna get better from here on in. Yeah, thank you, and I'm happy to meet you all.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, hon. You should come around more often. She's really great on the microphone, isn't she, folks? There is a global awakening. This is not just our issue. Let me tell you, all around this entire world, since April 12th, in every major city, in every single country, there are people just like you, just like me, and they are out there every single day standing up for what? For democracy. For democracy. So that each and every one of us have our individual right to be ourselves, to want what we want, to live in peace, to live in abundance, to have every opportunity available no matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe, what color your skin is, or what music you listen to. Why don't you come up here for a second, sweetie? You want to tell everybody your name again?
Christian.
Christian, how old are you, honey?
7.
You're 7, Christian? Do you miss school?
Yeah, and I want to open the schools and I want to play with my friends.
Absolutely. Christian, we're going to make it happen for you, okay, honey? Don't you worry. Christian, everybody. One little boy. How can a single adult listen to the words of that little boy and continue to restrict him his natural rights? It's absolutely absurd.
Tricks.
Absolutely absurd. There's one more gentleman, and I don't want to leave him out. They wanted to say a few words. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, so just 1 second. 1 second, sweetie, okay? 1 second. He's so cute.
Let me come and squeeze underneath.
This is George, everybody. Come on over here. Don't be shy. It's okay. He's a little nervous. Everybody give him a very warm welcome. He's got his own opinions he'd like to share with everyone.
So, first of all, what are we here for?
For freedom!
To end the lockdown.
Can't hear you.
Freedom!
Okay. First of all, everybody in that building behind us, we own them. They don't own us.
But they conned us. They conned us.
They conned us? Yes.
We have the power.
But who doesn't?
Yeah.
At least, like, when Doug, when Rob was alive,
yeah, he was, man.
He was messed up, sure. Who isn't?
Yeah. But he did the right.
But at least he didn't stab people in the backs that actually voted for him and called them yahoos and sheep.
Yeah.
Well, not sheep.
No.
Well, people. And as long as you keep us huddled up inside, Doug, or Rob, or whatever your name is,
Rob's rolling in his grave.
we're going to be coming after you next, Trudeau. So watch out.
George, everybody. So I got one more little interview to do over here. Why don't you come on over here? What's your name?
James, and I want to open school.
Oh,
yeah! Yeah, boy!
Oh, your children are adorable, folks. That's what it's all about. We are not yahoos, and if I am a yahoo, I'm very proud to be a yahoo. Thank you very much.
Not even Yahoo email.
Yeah.
We're not sheep to the slaughter.
No, we're not sheep. We're people, and we matter, and our voices matter. I got another little interview coming up here. Come on over here, sweetheart. Stand over here, sweetie. It's okay. Don't be shy. What's your name?
Sarah.
Yeah!
Sarah, do you miss your friends?
Yes.
What do you miss most about school?
I it back.
Yeah.
How about groups and stuff? You miss going to the park and sliding down the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Hugging your friends.
How about hugging your friends and birthday parties?
Yeah, I do love birthday parties.
So what do you want to say to everybody who keeps saying that you can't have these things?
Oh, the three amigos.
We need our life back.
Be fierce, never give up.
Hey!
Thank you guys. Thank you all so very, very much.
Oh, he's got some more.
So adorable.
Wait,
Well, okay, one more. James got one more thing to say here.
Yeah.
I like birthday parties. I want to eat it. I want to open the parks and go to birthday parties.
Yeah.
Perfect. I hope somebody's got all that on video, because I would like everybody here and everybody who sees it to make sure that they email that to Doug Ford.
And Trudeau. And
Because how
Tory.
dare you oppress our children?
Yeah.
My daughter should have graduated this year from grade 8. She should have walked amongst her peers down that aisle with pride, with accomplishment,
Had a party.
for everything that she worked her butt off for.
Now it's on hold.
Now, the reward system, like graduation, is there for a reason. Because it rewards people for the work that they've done.
Yeah.
Because it encourages them to continue. I cannot imagine how many people, how many children, grade 5, grade 8, high school and grade 12, are going to be so encouraged and so thrilled and so looking forward to going to school now that they haven't even been rewarded for their work.
Demoralizing.
Appreciated. That's what graduation's about. My daughter is so upset. And I don't blame her. Her friends are upset. Suicide in North America has skyrocketed. Suicide. Now, I know I'm a mother of only 2, but I feel it is my obligation to care about everybody's child, as it is everybody else's, because every person is somebody's child.
Yeah.
And it is our shared obligation to provide them with a better world than we were given.
Yeah.
Do you want to come up here, honey? No? What is it? Remember when you were 13? I don't know if I was that nervous. I think it was a bit of a ham. I'm going to have Judy come up right now and say a few words. Come on up.
Hi everyone. I thought it was getting better, especially in Kensington Market, where the shops are open and people don't have masks and a lot are not social distancing, which is great.
Yeah.
And then I encountered these children. They were playing with a hose that was emitting water, and I asked if I could use it to cool off. And the parents said fine. When I walked past them, the children automatically backed up. And I said, "What's wrong? Do I smell?" Like, I was dressed nice as I try to every time. I was shocked, and the mom said, "Oh, we're trying to tell them it's important to give people their space because of the fear of the virus." I said, "Have you not heard the updated stats the CDC themselves admit? 0.296% mortality. That means it's less than seasonal flu that kills people." And they're like, "Oh, really?" And "Oh, I have to read up on that." And anyways, they didn't change their behavior. And I also added that WHO says asymptomatic, i.e. healthy people, do not spread the virus.
Oh.
And come on, you know that. You have an immune system, parents. So I was shocked. Kensington Market, alternative thinking people, it still was ingrained into them. There was this fear, and the children that backed away. And I said, "Please, what are you afraid of? Do not be afraid. And if you believe in God, He will keep you safe. And if it's your time, you cannot hide."
Yeah.
I reminded them to really trust in the sunlight and in God's creation, that we need to enjoy it and not be afraid. I was very disappointed. It was so heartbreaking. I need to appeal to the spiritual leaders once again to stand up and lead your sheep properly. And one lady, she told me, I won't say who it is, she said perhaps the churches are not opening because they are not taxed. The property taxes are not they're not paying property taxes. And if they ever talk against the politicians, maybe they might have to pay. And then I would appeal to these spiritual leaders. That's the issue of money. That's idolizing the importance of money over God. And to really think, where is your heart? Where does your heart lie?
They sold out.
And even if they come out and open the churches and you get hit with a property tax, you have to remember we can go to court. That's why the court system is supposed to be impartial to the politicians who enact laws to grab more taxes and protecting the people. Spiritual leaders, I'm very disappointed. You have placed so much more importance on money, on the fear of being fined, than reminding and remembering to listen to God and to gather for your people and to lead your people, especially in this dark time. Not today's rain, but in this dark time, you know it's a spiritual fight. Because Paul said it's not a fight of the world. It's over principalities right now. Yeah. Someone give me that scripture. It's a fight of principalities. It's a dark force that we're fighting, because who else can implement all these laws or policies that people forget? It's just guidelines, and they take it with heart and they separate themselves from their people, from their seniors, from the children, and people start dying. That's only enacted by people who have no heart, right? These are psychopaths. We have to admit that they are psychopaths.
Yeah.
And Robin, the lady who came with the I Ching, she says vibrate love. So those of us who have conscience, who have hearts, we need to vibrate love and smash through that darkness that surrounds these psychopaths. And pray for them to open up their hearts, chakras. Thank you.
End the lockdown.
Thank you.
End the lockdown.